Hey friends, welcome to this week's episode of Not Your Mommas Podcast. I'm excited. We have again the lovely Dr. Emily Guarnotta, a clinical psychologist and perinatal mental health specialist. She owns Phoenix Health, a therapy practice that specializes in supporting mothers facing infertility, pregnant loss, as well as prenatal and postpartum mental health concerns. So join us today. We have Dr. Emily as she shares helpful tips on how to go from surviving to thriving in motherhood. Emily, it's such an honor to have you back on the show again.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, so diving right into this topic, why do so many parents today feel like they are just surviving?
Yeah, that's something that I hear is living in survival mode. And I think it's because there are just so many demands on parents today. In most families, both parents are working outside of the home. They're managing schedules, they're managing their kids' sports and doctor's appointments, keeping up with their own jobs, keeping up with their own health. And on top of that, a lot of families don't have the same village that maybe past generations have had, where they've had the support of their community or their family around. A lot of people are living away from family, or just don't have other family members that are able to offer assistance with childcare or other things. So I think it's really a combination of increased demands, in addition to less help.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
and also, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like it's also like financing too, like helping with the homework. Like, okay, yeah, you can delegate it to someone to help you if you don't have like, you know, any other family members, like you'd have to like pay someone to help you with the homework or things like that. And those baseball schedules and soccer schedules are very demanding. The school schedules are very demanding. Life has been even more stressful, especially with inflation and like all the demands that we have to do. So it's real, like just feeling that feeling of survival. That totally hit with me with what you were saying.
Yeah, so if you're feeling that as a parent right now, you're definitely not alone. It's actually more the norm than it is not.
Yeah. And, being in this survival mode, like how does this affect a person's, health overall?
Well, living in survival mode is a state of chronic stress. Chronic stress is for a number of reasons. So when you're in this state of chronic stress, your sympathetic nervous system, which is what activates your fight or flight response, is
Mm-hmm.
activated very often. And our bodies are designed to go into fight or flight for periods of time, and then to come out of it and to recover. The problem with today's modern world is that we're going into fight or flight response for what we perceive as threats, things that our ancestors back in the day didn't have. So
Mm-hmm.
we're designed to go into fight or flight when we're faced with saber-tooth tiger,
Yeah.
not when we're in traffic, but we're going into this mode so many times throughout the day, and these stress hormones get released in our bodies, and then they put us at risk for higher rates of anxiety, depression, physical
Disease.
health conditions, hypertension, all these things. It increases our risk of getting sick more often. So there's definitely physical and mental um, health consequences of being in this constant state of survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could put your body at a state of dis-ease. And one of the things that is like, I think the leading cause, like in Americans, is inflammation, you know, because we have so much in our body based on like the diet that we have. And then the inflammations in our body causes, irritations elsewhere. And like our organs like can't really talk to us. So they come out in like different ways, like through our body to communicate, like, oh, like bowel movements or pain and etc. And those types of things can happen when you, like you said, you're in that state of fight or flight mode constantly because like you're getting stressed out, like just being in traffic. And if traffic's like an everyday thing for you, because you're worried about the time, like you're constantly, running on those high anxiety, survival mode vibes.
Exactly, exactly.
So, what are some signs that what can burnout look like for someone, and what should parents do if they're experiencing them?
So burnout is a consequence of living in an ongoing survival mode, and it's
Mm.
basically a state of physical and mental exhaustion. And it can look a little bit different from person to person, but generally it involves physical and emotional signs. Some of the more emotional mental signs can be just feeling like you're in a constant state of tension, feeling very anxious, very overwhelmed, very irritable, easy to anger, kind of symptoms along those lines.
Mhm.
Physically, it can manifest as chronic fatigue, stomach, gastro issues, headaches, and just generally aches and pains. If you feel like you're in a constant state of burnout, one of the things that I would really encourage you to first do is to recognize that it's burnout. From there, a good exercise is to take some time to kind of reflect on the different things that you think are contributing to your burnout
Mhm.
and make that one side of the piece of paper. And then on the other side, try to come up with at least three potential solutions to the problem that's contributing to the burnout. And when you do this, be very open to any possible solution, even if they're kind of wild. Just
Yeah.
start getting your brain to kind of think in solution mode. Um, so for example, if one of the problems is it's so stressful to get my kids out the door to school in the morning, and that's one of the factors contributing to your burnout. Try
Yeah.
to think like, what are possible solutions that I could do here? I could wake up
Mhm.
10 minutes earlier. I could put my kids to bed in their school clothes to
Yeah.
reduce the time picking out outfits in the morning. I could hire someone to help me. I mean, that's not an option for many people, but just put everything down
Yeah.
and then go back and pick one or two of those things to try.
Yeah. You know what I always thought? I was like, oh, you can just hire like an intern. Like, get intern credit, like this is an internship job, on how to
Internship
it.
to life, life internship.
It's for your CPR course.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. But so Emily, before we dive into the Power Mom Chronicles section, is there anything else you'd like to sprinkle on top of this conversation?
Just be open to different possible solutions. Because if you're not, it's so easy to get stuck in burnout and keep doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to keep getting the same results. So I would really encourage people to try to be open to potential solutions and just try them out and see if they work. And if they don't, then go back to the drawing board. But really be open to just different ways of thinking about how you run your household and just try to be flexible with that.
Yeah. Well, it is time for the Power Mom Chronicles. And Emily, this is not your first time around. If you want to see what her answers were in the first episode with her, go check it out. Let's see if they're the same in this episode. So, what's a game-changing lesson life has taught you?
The game-changing lesson that's resonating for me today is that it's not the events of life that are the problem, it's how you respond to the events of life. And
Yeah.
that's something that I'm trying lately.
Yeah. No, it's so true. You have to, like, what are our actions going to be? Sometimes we just have to, like, take a step back and just breathe, and just, like, before reacting within the moments of the things that bother us. I don't know. I work on that too all the time. It's so hard.
The journey, for sure.
Constantly, but I get better every time, but it's never perfect.
Exactly.
And then reflecting on your journey, what practical lessons or insights, can our listeners apply to improve their own lives?
Well, one game changer for me has really been meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did talk about this in the last time that we spoke, but meditation is one of the things when I bring it up to people, people are always very much they're kind of scared off by it. But meditation can be as simple as just like sitting in your bed for 5 minutes and breathing or focusing on the sounds that you hear. But what it does for your nervous system is so profound. And the research really shows that it's really, really impactful. Um, so that's one of not necessarily a lesson, but a practice that I would really encourage people to be open to trying if they haven't already done so.
And offer a piece of wisdom for moms or anyone really striving to find their strength and voice.
I would say just remember that things or life doesn't necessarily get easier, but you get better at handling it. Um, and just remember that, just keep trying your best because life is always going to kind of throw these curveballs at you. And when you don't expect them, they really throw you off. But when you come to expect them and just, okay, it's another curveball, it's coming my way. You're have so much of a calmer presence in dealing with it.
And the best advice you've ever received.
I think again, it's this idea that it's not what happens to you, but it's what you do in response to what happens to you that's um really the most important thing. Like if you're stuck in traffic, it's not really the traffic that's the problem. It's what you're telling yourself about the traffic and how
Yeah.
you're working yourself up about it.
Yeah, well, that is a great way to end this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. Dr. Emily Guarnotta, it was such an honor to have you on again. All of her links are down below in the show notes. Don't be shy, go say hi, and see you in the next one. Thanks for listening.